Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of Surviving Life's Pickles. We are so happy that you have joined us again this week for this precious hour out of your day to hang out with us and listen to the information that our guests have today. Well, I'm Scott Martin, your host. I'm joined today by my co-host, my lovely wife, Hillary. How are you?
I am wonderful today.
That's fantastic. And our guest today is Jennifer Peterson. Jen, how are you doing?
Really well. It's been a productive day, and this is a comfortable space, so I'm super happy.
Right. Well, thank you. We're excited to get into all this information that you have for us today. But before we dive into the meat and potatoes, just like we start off every episode, if this is your first time tuning in, we talk about what we're grateful for today because it sets the tone and it gives us that reassurance of, you know what, life is good and we're happy to be here. And so we start off with something that we're grateful for today, go around the circle, and then we'll get into our topic. So Hill, why don't you take us away today?
Okay. Well, today I am grateful for the opportunity to be present for my family. And I'm grateful that I have a little extra time to be able to be a party planner. Scott's daughter, my stepdaughter, is getting married this fall, and we're planning a bridal shower for her. And I love parties. I love planning them and putting all the stuff together and the decorations and everything. But I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity and the trust from others that they trust me to make this happen and giving me that opportunity. And I'm glad that I have the time to do it. So
I love that.
So that's my gratitude today. Jen, how about you? What are you grateful for?
I think you guys are going to hate me right now.
No.
Okay. So sitting right here, right now, like I am so grateful that you found each other.
Wow.
Like I've known Hillary for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the privilege of being a part of her life when you came into her life and watching the progression that she's made and then just sitting here in front of you guys watching you look at each other. I'm so grateful that true deep love still exists. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm very grateful for that as well. Honestly, some days I think about it and I've previous relationships and different things. And what we have is unlike anything that I've ever had. And it's absolutely, absolutely wonderful.
It's very apparent.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, today, gratitude, I'm filled. There's so much, but I am so grateful today for my kids. Sometimes I take them for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't like them at all.
Yeah, I want to wring their necks.
But this week, I'm just really grateful. We've had our ups and downs this week with the boys. We spent time with Kylie getting her stuff ready for a bridal shower. I talked to Lissa for a few minutes. It's just, it makes me happy to talk to them, to hear them, to see them thrive and see them grow and becoming the people that they are. And sometimes you have to just take a minute to sit back and enjoy that. Because I know we all say that we wish they were younger and because we didn't spend enough time with them. But it's just those moments that we won't get back. And so I'm just very grateful for them and being able to realize that I can take a step back and take a breath and savor the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I like that one.
Well, I'm excited to hear from Jen today. Hillary's been talking about your seminar that she's attended multiple times throughout the years.
I actually haven't attended.
You haven't attended
No, but I've heard so much about it.
So you're even more excited then because I thought you had actually attended it, but you've only heard it from third person then.
Yeah, I've heard people rave about it and just how amazing Jen is with these topics. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce what we're going to talk about? This is your show today.
Oh, this is my show today. Okay. This is new. So, Jen, we asked you to come on the show to share a little bit about your story. But another thing that we were going to touch on is the difference between shame and guilt. And it came to me because a lot of our listeners, including myself, probably have struggled with this at some point in their lives. And as a recovering addict myself, that shame and that guilt that you feel, especially in early recovery, it can be absolutely detrimental, and it can just, you can wallow in it. And I've heard about this seminar that you've done or this workshop that you've done, and just would love to hear a little bit more. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about you and your story.
What got you to this moment?
A million things, a million moments have got me here. And I can acknowledge them all today, because I didn't start right here in a place where people would want to talk to me. I grew up in an addicted household. I swore off drugs because I wasn't going to be like my dad. But in doing that, like in living in that in that type of lifestyle, we don't learn coping skills. We don't talk about things. We don't, as they say, process through things. It happened, get over it, move on.
You're in survival mode.
Yeah. From whatever age, and clear up until, well into my recovery, I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of deep-rooted beliefs that were hard to get rid of, that were hard to reprogram, that were hard to understand. And so it's taken a long time to get to a point where I would even sit in front of someone and honestly and openly share about some of my darkest moments. Like I said, my dad was an addict. I grew up with addicts. I swore off drugs, but still hung out with people that were doing them. Mm-hmm. That's where I thought I belonged, because that's all I ever knew.
Yeah.
I had grandparents that weren't, they didn't use drugs. They didn't really talk about things either, and so since you've asked me about this, I had to pull up the old lesson.
Yeah.
Because now I just do everything off the hook. Okay.
Just on autopilot, right?
Yeah. I just do things off the hook. And when I get super passionate about something, I can ramble or I can get off track. And so I brought a little helper sheet to keep me on track, because there are important points that I don't want to miss, and so I'm learning to do that more in my current job. So,
before we even get into that, what is your current job and what are you doing?
I am the program director of an outpatient treatment center and medical detox. Okay. It is a whole new arena for me. I am used to working in a residential setting, and I'm used to working with a certain type of clientele, and now I have an opportunity to serve people that were just like me, are really in recovery. Some of these people don't have homes, some of them have never talked about anything. So because they're used to living in shame, I don't throw guilt and shame in the same category, because they are two totally different things. Guilt is the healthy version and shame is a deep-rooted, unhealthy version. So yeah, I get to do all these. I get to do groups. I get to meet people as they're just coming in. I get to hear about their different trigger experiences, because they are not living in a controlled environment anymore.
Yeah. They have to go home every night and be back in the world that slightly created them.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And a lot of different information comes in when we're not living in the controlled residential environment. And so it's really new, but super exciting for me. I've had the craziest career in recovery.
Yeah.
I never planned on living this life. When I got clean, I got into sales. I sold yellow page ads when we had actual phone books with yellow pages in them. And I never imagined that I would have the capacity to help anyone. I didn't believe in my abilities. I actually didn't even know I had any. I was just kind of destined to do life instead of live life.
What lured you into
crazy woman?
Into treatment?
Yeah, a crazy woman at a 12-step meeting was the supervisor at a facility, and she was looking for someone to work on her shifts for her. And when she proposed that to me and told me where she wanted me to go, I think a lot of my shame kicked in, because I didn't believe that I had enough value to make an impact on anyone. I had no confidence to share my voice or my truths. So luckily, this position was graveyard. So everyone was asleep most of the time, but there were moments when people would struggle in the middle of the night and come down and talk to me. And that sparked some kind of passion inside of me that has just grown and grown and grown.
And I have had the most blessed opportunity to watch that, because when I met you, you were still working graveyards. And like you watched me and Scott, I got to watch you flourish throughout your career and build upon it. And I am so proud of you and the things that you have accomplished.
Who would have thought that that little timid girl, I mean, I looked scary, but I was pretty timid, unapproachable, so lost, and had no idea even who I was, sitting behind a desk and having some moments where I got to feel some of the gifts that I think I possess in talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then transitioning out to, a place where I was working and got to sit with clients and teach these workshops and hear their life experiences and be part of that. And then, that's when I had to change my attire because this is not what I would have worn. When Hillary met me, I probably had 4 pairs of jeans and they were the exact same brand and the exact same size. And then probably 6 to 8 Hanes t-shirts in a 3XL, brown, gray, and black. Okay. And
I do remember that.
That is it. Because that's the only thing I was comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's almost impossible to be comfortable in any clothing when you're so uncomfortable inside of yourself. And I was so uncomfortable, so confused and thankfully I landed in a therapeutic environment where people were supportive, where people wanted me to believe that I had more in store for me than I was allowing myself to experience. That took years. And I'm so grateful for those people because they never gave up on me. They didn't lecture me or anything. They just were like, hey, Jen, when you did this, it really made an impact in this way. And after hearing that enough, I kind of started believing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got here. I just made transition after transition in that place, and our director told me that, I should dress how I want people to perceive me. And I was like, so you don't want me wearing these bland colors and this frumpy, I didn't need a 3XL, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I put it on because it was my shield,
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, there's more to you than that. And you're not letting anyone see it. And so slowly but surely, I still love black. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there's flowers on this dress, okay? Yeah. Which is a step forward.
Yes.
Big time. And I do have a pink shirt.
You were stepping up in the world.
It took me a long time to grasp onto pink, and here I am wearing a shade of pink.
Come on.
You still won't catch me dead in baby pink. It just doesn't go well with the
He-Man
hair.
wore baby pink.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit me. I'm an autumn, but it took me a long time to even. I was a black girl as well, so like just full attire, all black, and it was my favorite color to wear.
Well, yeah, because nobody could see if it was dirty or. But also, like I said, it's a shield.
Yeah.
It felt protective. It felt like it concealed. It felt like, nobody could see through it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the perfect barrier for someone who had zero self-esteem and didn't believe in their worth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm grateful for the transition for sure. It's made a big difference. It was so bad that when my grandma was getting ready to die, she said, you can speak at my funeral on one condition. You have to wear something colorful. And so I went out and bought this. It is a dark blue with a little bit of yellow streaky, like a watercolor dress, and spoke at her funeral. And that was kind of the first time that I stepped out of the discomfort and thought, you know what? If I'm ever going to share anything, let me share the love that I had for this woman. And if that's all she's going to ask of me so I can be able to do that, why not?
That's beautiful.
So like I said, a million little things have gotten me here. I've jumped around a little bit in the last few years, and that's okay. It's been a weird thing. I have never actually had to apply for jobs and interview for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself for the first time doing that. And it was so intimidating. I was like, what is a resume?
Yeah.
Because they've always just come.
Huh.
And this job just came too. It wasn't a plan.
Yeah.
Somebody called me for some help. And so I was looking for detox and I messaged the person that ran the detox and said, hey, got this guy with this insurance and he's on this drug and he needs help. And I said, and by the way, if you hear of anyone hiring, let me know. And she called me immediately.
Yeah.
And she was like, how is this real?
Mm-hmm.
Our program director is leaving, Jennifer.
Oh, wow.
Will you come? And I said yes, because I believe in what they do. Yeah. So anyhow.
Well, it's got to be, you say, exciting and scary at the same time going to this new format, this outpatient format, because everything's changed from what you're used to.
This is going to sound arrogant, but I refuse to be afraid. I refuse to be afraid because that is the one thing. And I truly believe that fear is often shame-based in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived in fear for so long that I refuse to be afraid. So many little things. I'm 50 now, and I don't care who knows it, because the last few years have been the greatest years of my life. And it helps that I wake up on my birthday and say, this is going to be the greatest year of my life, because it is. It is. I took up skateboarding because I remembered when I was a little girl, the boys up the street had built like a half pipe, and I had a skateboard. Mind you, I didn't have Vision streetwear or anything cool like they did. They were up there doing tricks on that half pipe. And when I rode my skateboard past, they said, poser. So I literally picked it up. I got off it right there, picked it up, took it home, and never got on another one. That's when I was 12.
Yeah.
So at 48,
Good for you.
I decided I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done letting fear hold me back. I'm done being scared of everything. I'm ready to just fully live this life.
Yeah.
In any arena I get to, So yeah, people are like, you're crazy. The nurse that always checks me when I get injured, because I don't have health insurance. So I just call the nurse and like, hey, can you come check this? She said, why can't you take up swimming or crocheting? Why are you so... And I said, because
you're more determined than me, because I went through a point in my life where I did the same. I picked up skateboarding, didn't have any health insurance, and my mom was the one that was like, you should not be skateboarding right now because you don't have a health insurance. And I kind of backed off a little bit, but I still every once in a while think back on it. And,
well, let's go. I have
maybe I need
2 helmets, girl.
Yeah,
there you go.
We need to hit it again. So
I'm not the greatest at it.
Yeah, neither am I.
If someone were watching me, they wouldn't say I was great at it. I just know that what I'm doing is great because I'm doing it, first off, and I am removing the fear barriers from life.
And you're having fun.
Yeah, well, I have had fun. I've only been injured twice, and they were pretty severe. No hospitalizations necessary.
That's good.
But still going to try things.
That's great.
I'm still going to try.
So I want to ask, because I know somebody else that's listening has the same question. How did you start that process in your head about, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm not letting that fear control me. What questions or what steps did you take to get to that place?
It was one thing, believe it or not.
Okay.
I mean, one thing and then a bunch of small risks. And that one thing is that someone told me I should never ask anybody to do anything that I myself am not willing to do. And so here I am teaching these groups, talking to people who are petrified to enter into a lifestyle they've not experienced, that they don't understand, that they actually wholeheartedly believe is impossible for them to do. And here I am sitting across from them telling them that it is possible. And then I have to think, like, Jen, what kind of things are you asking people to do that you're not willing to do? I'm asking them to overcome fear. I'm asking them to take a risk. I'm asking them to be vulnerable. I'm asking them to do all of these things that I myself need to be willing to do. Now, I will never ask anyone to skydive, okay? All right? There are some limits.
Because you won't do it. That's why you won't ask.
Correct. I have thought about it and decided that my life has more value than to take that risk, okay? There's this risk versus outcome kind of assessment.
Yeah, risk versus reward.
Yeah, but so I started analyzing my own fears, and when the topic of shame comes up every time somebody groups it with guilt, it makes me feel angry inside, which is why I'm super passionate about this. But when the topic of shame especially comes up, I constantly will question myself. Am I still allowing that to dictate the way I perceive myself? Because the way I perceive myself definitely is exhibited by who I am, And so if I wanted certain people to see me a certain way, I had to believe that, I had a huge fear of talking in front of people, and then getting up in front of 60, 80, who knows how many people at this point. I don't count them anymore. But getting up in front of those people and telling my truth has been one of the greatest things that I've accomplished in overcoming those fears. So there's just been a lot of small risks that I think helped reprogram my brain that I am capable, that I don't have to let that old program dictate my day to day.
Wow.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
I love how you described that, because we had a few weeks ago, I had a hypnotist on the show, and he talks about how to rewire your brain, and you can control it and you can do it. You're living proof that you can do it when you put your mind to it.
And my time to it.
And your time.
And your time. Yeah.
I wish we could all just go to bed believing that we were going to wake up without all of the negative narratives in the head or all of the shame that we carry or, those kind of things. But unfortunately, we can't. It's a process.
It is. It's something you have to work on constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's dive more into that. Let's talk about this shame versus guilt.
Yeah. So I brought my little outline because, like I said, I get off track a lot because this is something that has helped me. This workshop helped me probably more than the clients, and maybe that's why they end up loving it, because the truth comes out.
Well, and you have such a passion for it.
Yeah, the truth comes out. And so I'll just go in. I just want people to understand this does not just impact addicts.
Mhm.
The only thing I notice is that when people experience addiction, it magnifies it.
Yeah.
Shame was something that I've been experiencing since I was a small child. I was told when I made a mistake, I was told I should be ashamed of myself. When I did something that someone didn't like, I was told, shame on you.
Yeah.
And so I learned really early that I was a bad person that people shouldn't feel great around, and that I should feel bad about who I was. That was way before I ever picked up a drug. And the people that were saying this to me were caregivers that weren't on drugs. This was just something that was deep rooted in their belief system, because if we go back to, way back, I'm sure, there were certain things that happened today that never happened. Or when they did happen, they were well hidden.
Yeah.
Women, if they got pregnant before marriage, that was a very shameful thing. And it brought disgrace and all that kind of stuff to your family. And it carried on generation to generation, So all of a sudden I should be ashamed of myself for eating 2 cookies when I was told to only have 1. Shame on you for saying that to your mother.
Yeah.
Never like, hey, let's talk about what happened and why it's not okay. Never that. Just shame, shame, shame.
Mhm.
And I feel like the older we get, if we don't understand the difference between guilt and shame, and we don't figure out where our shame stems from or why our belief system focuses on it the way that we do, we're going to be stuck in it. I have plenty of family members that still live in that shame.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they are baffled by me because I'm like, you're right. That happened. And at the time you told me to get over it, there's no getting over that.
Yeah.
I get to understand it today instead of getting over things, so it's pretty cool.
I like that. Understanding it and not getting over it. I like that. How you explain that, because I never thought about it that way. Sometimes you won't get over it. It's going to be with you. But if you understand it, then you can be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about acceptance on a consistent basis. And I think that if we teach people that understanding things, it doesn't mean we're agreeing with it. It doesn't mean that I'm saying it's okay. It means I understand it. I don't have to carry it. I don't have to let it dictate. I don't have to let it be heavy or any of those kind of things. I can understand it and move on from it, but it's still going to be a part of me. I don't feel any shame around who I am, and I don't feel any shame about who I've been, because I understand it. I understand that little girl. I understand that teenage girl. I understand all of those different parts of me that are going to live with me forever and ever and ever. So I think that's been helpful too in learning how to take risks and not have fear and that kind of stuff, because I just work really hard to understand it.
I love that. We have the best little guest here, little Benny, your dog, and he's playing with something in the carpet. And I'm sorry if I'm like getting distracted because he's so dang cute.
Yeah. Benny was supposed to be my emotional support animal, but because I work where I work and they let me bring him every single day,
He's turned into everybody's.
oh my gosh, you guys.
There's nothing better than a puppy.
Watching people that come in off the streets that are struggling because they're detoxing, they're uncomfortable, they're miserable, and I expect them to talk to me. Benny is my buffer.
Yeah.
Because I can get in a room with someone who's totally closed off and put Benny in their lap, and it changes everything. So I'm grateful he got to be here today. He helps me out a lot. He does. And he helps a lot of other people. I don't know how it's real. He's only 20 weeks old. I don't know how he lays at my feet while I do groups for an hour and a half. I don't know how he just knows how to engage with people naturally, but here he is. So I get distracted too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's no big deal. So I just want to give a definition of guilt and shame so that we can have a better understanding of why these two things are different.
Help us understand.
Yes. And this is written down because I can't remember all this stuff. I have too many things to think about every day. And some of them override all of these darker things. And I'm grateful for that most of the time until I'm tasked with recall. And then I'm like, oh man, where's my brain?
Yeah.
So guilt is the feeling of remorse or responsibility for a specific action or behavior. It arises when you believe you have done something wrong. Guilt is often associated with a focus on what you did, such as I made a mistake. It can be constructive, leading to reparative actions like apologizing or making amends. Shame, on the other hand, is a deeper, more... I told you I was going to have to pause. Let me go back. Shame is a deeper feeling that affects your sense of self. It makes you feel that you are bad, rather than just that you did something wrong. Shame can be more damaging because it leads to feelings of worthlessness and disconnection from others. So guilt and shame are often interchangeably used, but they have distinct psychological and emotional differences. And so that's why this passion developed me. I was like, no, we're supposed to feel guilty. When we feel guilty, it can encourage moral growth, strengthen relationships, promote accountability, increase empathy, motivate positive change, which is what we're seeking our whole life, and then prevent harmful behaviors. We have to make sure that our guilt is balanced, because excessive guilt helps us or causes us to ruminate and ruminate and ruminate, and we can't move past it.
Yeah.
And then guess what it turns into?
Turns into shame.
Right. Right. So we have to be very careful. Shame is harmful, especially when it becomes internalized and persistent. And that's not okay, because that controls everything in us. And I'm grateful. So hold on. So the difference, we just went over guilt. Shame damages our self-worth. It encourages isolation. It fuels anxiety and depression. It inhibits growth and change, leads to self-sabotage and perfectionism or attempted perfectionism, causes unhealthy coping skills, and affects relationships. Okay, I'm done with my paper.
I love it.
So I meet so many people. Like, people will ask me in 21 years, actually, let me backpedal. I've been told when I was a kid, like, I thought starving people should be fed, and I was going to feed them all. And my dad told me, one little girl can't change the world. Well, I beg to differ, right? I beg to differ. Because when one little girl decides to look at something like shame and then help others see it, we do make a change. I'm like, I don't keep track, but I know I probably impacted it or touched. I'm not going to say it in the perverted way. Every time I say this, I've touched like over 6,000 people. People take it wrong, but what I mean by is emotionally touch them.
Yeah.
My goal is everyone I meet, I want to teach them and I want to learn from them.
And then there's a ripple effect that goes out from there. So even people that you didn't interact with personally, the things that you taught them and the things that you said to them carry with them throughout their entire lives and affect the people that they're around, and so on and so forth. I mean, you've impacted me in so many ways, and
probably impacted me through her.
Yeah,
same way. So
it just keeps going, and it's that ripple effect.
And I'm grateful for that.
I'm grateful for that.
I'm grateful that somebody taught me, because I surely didn't learn all this on my own. There have been many people that have come into my life and given me small pieces to help me put all my pieces back together again. So go ahead.
Recognizing shame and guilt. I mean, we had the definitions, but if somebody is trying to determine if they're feeling guilty or if they're feeling shamed, how do they go about that? What questions can they ask themselves to determine which one it is?
Evidence seeking.
Yes.
That can be super complex because we don't necessarily have the pathway in our brain to even try to figure out what the difference is. When we're feeling guilty, like I can feel bad that I was speeding and I cut someone off, okay? I can feel guilt around that. Now, this is a basic example, okay? Now, if the guy flips me off when I'm passing and calls me a stupid idiot driver, and I internalize that and allow it to dictate my belief on what type of driver I am, it transitions from guilt to shame. I feel bad I did that. I feel bad I did that. That's the guilt concept. Now, if I change the wording to, I'm a bad driver because I did that, all of a sudden I'm letting that moment dictate what type of driver I am. And so I have to look at things like, what evidence exists that this made you into who you are?
Prove to me, right?
Yeah. How did I allow simple comments from people to turn into part of my belief system? Because when I feel guilt, that's not who I am. It's what I did. I have to ask myself that. You know, I lost my children in addiction. I neglected them. I did not feed them. I put them in danger. I had a lot of people coming in and out of my home. And that's one of the most shameful things, because I allowed that in the moment and through several years of my recovery to tell me that I was a bad mom and didn't deserve children. You know, and as I progressed in recovery and started learning how to look at circumstances or incidents or any events that occurred in life, that's where I learned how to decipher. Because when I took on that shame that led me to believe I was a bad mother, it caused me to not be able to see all of the evidence that said otherwise, even after I went through DCFS, Department of Child and Family Services. I worked really hard for about 24 months total to regain the privilege of being a mother. And I've been clean since. Okay. It's been 21 years since I put a substance in my body. That's a lie. I ate a cookie, but a destructive substance in my body. And when I'm allowing shame to be in the forefront and dictate who I am at my core, I only see the negative. I don't see like, hey, Jen, like you did all this work to earn the privilege to be their mom. You provided safe housing since. You've become willing to do what your own mother wasn't willing to do. We talk about things. I admit that I make mistakes to my children, you know, and so that tells me I'm not a bad mom. Had I held on to the shame from those days when I did abandon my children and I did endanger their lives, had I let that dictate at my core what type of parent I actually am, I don't think I would have been able to do what I do with them today.
Yeah.
Had to work through that too and try to understand it. Try to understand how I got there and, you know, the impact that it had on them. I'm not going to sit here and say like, well, it didn't hurt them, because it absolutely hurt them. I caused pain through my actions. And I can acknowledge that's not the kind of mother that I am at my core. And that's the difference between guilt and shame. I feel guilty for what I did. I do. You know, I feel guilty when I see kind of in my older children, the residual of that. You know, I've paid for some therapy copays. I got to make amends somehow.
We all will eventually with some form or other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that was the most intense shame thing that I had to work through. And in order to do that, I needed to understand, because shame tells me that that's who I am. Guilt tells me that's what I did.
So I don't remember who said this. It might have been Curtis, but is it true that in shame, you can't feel anything, but in guilt, you do feel it? Like that's kind of the physical difference between shame and guilt. Is in guilt, you can feel emotions.
All right. So I will rebuttal that.
Yeah.
Because when you're a small child, I definitely feel like you can feel shame. I definitely feel like when it's become part of your core and you have a deep belief that you're a bad person, I'm an unworthy person, I don't belong with these people, I don't have value, like little comments that were said in my whole life they built that shame inside of me. And more of those comments came and they hurt. They still hurt. And I would say guilt is like a little flutter in your tummy, and shame is like a suffocating straitjacket.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it feels, at least for me, it felt heavy. It felt controlling. It felt dark, and I'm famous for rebuttals. I always tell the clients, please do not ask me a question because you're going to get my truth. It's not a consensus truth. It's my truth, but I feel like you feel both of them in very different ways.
Very different ways.
Very different ways. Not slightly, very. Because, I'm sure you guys have felt guilt before. Man, I shouldn't have done that. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And then shame comes in and it's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
You're unworthy. You're not worth it. All the little comments, they've compounded into something so great that it feels heavy, sometimes nauseating, and a lot of other things that I'm uncomfortable feeling. So I kept doing drugs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I know for a fact that shame kept me sick for a long time. Once I was able to differentiate the shame from the guilt that I felt, that's when I was able to start to recover.
Well, it's super freeing to be able to say, yes, I did that. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
Because I've done some stuff. I've done some stuff. And I already had a lot of shame before I ever used drugs. I grew up that way. When I used drugs, it compounded because nobody wants to sit in front of a bunch of people and say, hey, I chose drugs over my kids. I abandoned them. I neglected them. I harmed them. I put them in danger. I lost them. I lost the privilege. And I say privilege. A lot of people say it's a right. And I don't believe that. I believe that parenting is a privilege.
I believe that.
And earning that back was one of the greatest things I've done in my life. I worked really hard to show that I deserved to be those kids' parents after what I did, And so that helped with the healing too. I talk about it. So much. It's not funny. I'll sit in front of many moms, who have lost their kids or even who have not been emotionally available and their kids turned into addicts. And I've had a few moms that have had children that have overdosed and they feel this immense shame that they caused that.
Yeah.
And talking to them, I have to be real because if I don't, they won't, and that's another thing. I'm not going to ask you to do something I won't do. I'll lay it all out for you. I will tell you the nitty gritty dirty because I don't feel shame around it anymore. It's what I did. It's not who I am. Do I look like a junkie today? No, it's something I did. It's not who I am. And I remind myself that in a lot of different ways. I've done some crappy things in life. I've caused some pain to people that I cared about. I've jumped ship when I shouldn't have because I was the captain. I was the one at the wheel. I'll still jump ship and let it crash into an iceberg. I've done that. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like another important concept of healing the shame is we have to reconnect with our values. Often in addiction, or if you live in deep shame from something else, we have to convince ourselves somehow to get rid of those values or minimize them so that what we're doing is okay, And that's part of shame too. I shouldn't have to minimize my values to make something okay because my values are at my core. They are what drive who I am, not the things I've done, but those values that I hold close. They construct who I am. And so I always encourage people, like, if you haven't done that, please do. You can get on Amazon and order a values deck of cards and it has 50, 70 values on them. Throw them on the floor and take out the ones that don't matter, and leave yourself with a pile of 10 and know that's who you are at your core. That's what matters. That's what you're willing to fight for. And stop letting fear, shame, and all those kind of things rob you of those values. Focus on them, build on them. I embrace them because they are who I am.
It's interesting to think unless you're deeply religious or were raised in a very foundational home, sometimes you don't know what your values and your morals are. And sometimes in rediscovering yourself, you have to take a look at that to figure out, this is who I want to be. And it could be something as simple as I want to be of service, or it could be I want to lead a healthy lifestyle. All of those things can combined into a goal.
Yeah.
It's something that just clicked with me. And I knew this before, but with the shame on the values, I had moments in my life where I was so ashamed because I wasn't living up to somebody else's values. I didn't know that those weren't my values because that's the world I was living in, was that shame that I was disappointing them. And I absolutely love her idea about the cards. We're going to have a family night.
Yeah.
And we're going to do this with the kids. And we're
like
going to
that.
throw them on the ground, because maybe the same thing could be happening to them. Is they're at the age now, I mean, they're 12 and 13, where they can understand what's important to them, and they need to start thinking about that. So I want to say thank you for giving me this wonderful idea.
Interesting they are that age.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you, that is the point where, that is the age where all the outside influence they're impacting our beliefs about
Screaming
ourselves
at them.
And so when we teach strong values and help them understand them, they value them enough they don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
If I could have had that lesson at a young age, I think things would have went much different.
Yeah.
And morals and values, when they are combined, it's much like guilt and shame. So I have all sorts of opinions because morals come from outside influence.
And the kid in this day and age is so completely different from when we were growing up, because the outside influences are literally screaming at them. They are in their hand on their phone, and it's constant. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So it is very something that I think everybody should look into with their youngins, of looking to see what those outside influences are and help guide your children to finding out who do they want to be? What do they value? What do they want to nourish?
Yeah. Nourish is a great word when it comes to values.
Yeah.
Because they can start small. Like you said, maybe I value my pink fuzzy blanket.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe that's when I'm little, I value that. And it goes everywhere with me. I have no idea why I value that. But as I transition, or as we transition, like your children are doing right now, we need to understand why that was so important.
Yeah.
So, it turns out one of our values is safety. And that blanket represented safety because we were wrapped in it for so long. That blanket, values comfort. The value is comfort. All sorts of things like that come out of that. So it's interesting that your children are that age, because this is the age where I'm trying so hard, because I honestly believe morals are one thing. I get it. And mine probably aren't up to standard in the way I was raised either. Those things have no importance to me. What do have importance to me is my values. And sometimes my morals facilitate me building a stronger value. If I value family, I want to have a moral that I'm not out streaking in the streets and doing indecent things because I don't want to make them feel like they can't be proud of me. That was an extreme example too. I like to do extreme examples.
Yeah,
they're
but
funny.
I've done that.
He's done that. Yeah, he's done that.
Well, that happens. And maybe that was you getting over fear. I'm not sure, but just making sure that we understand who we are at our core.
Yeah.
Shame kills values.
Yeah.
And we will feel more and more shame when we don't understand who we are at our core. Because now my shield is different. My shield is underneath my skin, and I shield my emotions. I share them, but I also make sure I'm not taking on too many, because when I do that, I become a weakened version of myself and I care more about other people, and then the codependency kicks in. But, my shields are around my values. I'm not going to let anyone take them from me. I'm not going to let anyone minimize them. I'm not going to, and that includes me, because I'm the one who would minimize them.
Yeah.
I don't value family anymore. That way I can stay on the streets and keep doing drugs and not care about if it's their birthday or not. Right? So I just kind of shed that. I valued sleep. Sleep was important because I believed it, and I'm doing a drug that doesn't allow me to sleep. So I get rid of that. Sleep's not important. Food's not important. Communication is not important. Relationships aren't important. My children aren't important. Just slowly got rid of everything that I had ever thought was important to me. And I've learned those are my values, and I need to guard them. I need to respect them, and I need to strengthen them because I'm not immune to life.
The phrase that comes to mind is, if you don't stand for anything, you'll kneel for everything.
Correct. That's a good one. That definitely correlates with the value system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys.
Really a great refresher for me personally.
Yeah.
Of talking about this and looking at things differently and remembering some of those shames that I have got over.
Mhm.
And not feeling that way anymore.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is. And sometimes we don't take the time to remember that. Sometimes we don't take the time to see how far we've come from that moment of shame and that fear.
I encourage people, I'm living a pretty good life right now. I don't have a big fancy house or $150,000 car or anything like that. But what I do have is this ability to remind myself of the experiences that I've had and what I've been able to overcome, what I've been able to learn from, what I've been able to have a perspective change around. Because there are some things in my life that when I first examined them held me back. Because I honestly believed I was just a bad person. I'm unworthy of love. Because if God can't love me and let me into heaven, then nobody can. Because I'm so unworthy. All these mistakes I made. Shame on you. You should be ashamed, And I carried that. I've carried that for so long. And now being able to have a perspective change and go, whoa, nah, I made a mistake. And I wish I could have learned the lessons that came with that mistake instead of the shame. Of course you should feel bad. You did something that hurt your grandma's feelings. Of course you should feel bad. That does not mean you are bad. Yeah. Years and years went by when I was telling my kids when they're little, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
We don't say that anymore.
No.
We don't say what's wrong with you because you're not wrong. What you did was wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're perfect. This is how you're supposed to be. You're not wrong. You're not broken. I don't tell people you're broken anymore because we're not broken. We might have a misconception of what we're supposed to be focusing on most of the time.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that I got to grow to the point where I am right now so that I could love people wholeheartedly, including me. I don't hate me. I don't look at myself as a worthless piece of crap that's unworthy of love. And that took a long time.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. I always tell people, if I can give you one thing, I wish I could give you the ability to realize your true gifts inside of you and your worthiness, the true worthiness of your soul and who you are and what you've done. Because once you have that, once you actually can see those parts of you, it changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything. It changes the way you love. It changes the way you speak. It changes what's important to you. It changes your values. I don't value methamphetamines anymore. Okay. I don't value backpacks as much as I did back then because it's all I had to carry. I don't value the rush of being able to commit a crime. Okay. I valued those things. They became my values, and those are not my values. That was a facade I put on to accommodate what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
What I thought I wanted to do at that point. Because do we ever really want to do it?
No.
Most of the time, no.
Most of the time,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Maybe once
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun in the beginning.
Yeah.
Fun in the beginning.
Yeah. But eventually it becomes
Yeah.
something completely different.
Yeah, because in the beginning, who doesn't want to stay up for 4 days and party consistently with their friends?
Yeah.
Well, it sounded good to me.
Right.
But then day 10, when I realized I haven't showered, eaten, or called my mom or checked on my children, it wasn't fun anymore. I have a really hard time laying out fun moments of my addiction because it was so just in such a false facade of what joy was in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually struggled to think back on, there were plenty of fond and fun times, but the further that I got along through it, the misery masked all of the fun times. Because
at some point we realized the price we're actually paying.
Yeah.
And it's not worth the fun that we had.
No.
The price that we're paying for that moment. Sometimes it was 4 seconds of joy. The price that we had to pay for that moment all of a sudden just made it not fun.
Yeah.
Wasn't worth it anymore.
Yeah. So I'm curious.
Curious is dangerous with me. Okay. Be careful, because I have a lot of opinions and feelings.
I want to hear what your values are today.
Oh, good.
What is important to you? What do you hold that shield around?
Obviously helping others is a huge value for me. I've asked clients to write up goals. When you brought up goals, I was like, oh God, that's another whole workshop. Ask them to write up goals, and I asked them to list their 3 most important goals. And then at the very top, I asked them to list their most important goal in life, and when you're first sitting with people and they write like my mom, and things like that, that's great. And I, at the top, write my funeral. And this is how I know helping people is such a strong value, because my main goal in life is to have a funeral where, 4 or 5 people stand up and say, I made a difference. Helping people is a huge, huge value that I have. I want to be authentic. I don't want to hide or pretend. I don't want to allow the things that I've experienced in this life to hinder me from a good future, from growth and things like that. Of course, I value my family. I have 4 children now. I had 2, now I have 4. And I value being someone that is effective in guiding them. So family is an umbrella. We could go off on all the little morals that support it, right? But my family is very important to me because of the way I grew up. There was a point in my recovery where I was like, if the only thing I do in this life is just do a little better than my mom did, I am successful. And so now I have an expectation. I teach my children. I don't have a lot of expectations as far as what your success looks like, because it belongs to you. What I do hope is that you just do a little better than I did, because this generational curse that we've been living in for so long is something that I am determined to fight. So that's a value too.
I like that. That's a great one.
Acceptance is a value. I love people. Like, I've encountered people from all sorts of places. I'm the weird girl that will go ahead and praise you for being able to afford a Ferrari, okay? But I'm also the girl that will sit down in the park next to someone that's crying, even if they look like they haven't showered for a week and they smell awful. I will sit down and just, sometimes we all just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You
just need somebody to listen.
Yeah, I'm that weirdo. So acceptance is a huge value, because in order to do that, I have to have that acceptance, of what is. No barrier, nothing blocking, nothing holding me back from being exactly who I am next to you. That's why I say it's dangerous asking me for my opinion. So just be careful, because I have a lot of them. People say, how do you feel about this? I'm like, oh my gosh. Because their therapist will have something for them and they don't agree with it or they don't understand it. And I'm like, I can be the best and worst person to ask those questions too, because I have my own perspective. And I will acknowledge that right out the gate. This is my perspective. There's not extensive research on my perspective. It's just my perspective, which is filtered by all my experiences. So you never know what you're going to get out of me.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like that a lot.
I told you she was straight to the point.
Yeah. So I do want to ask this because I want to be more of that person. And so I want to ask how you do this. If you do see that person in the park, just a complete stranger, and you can tell that they need something, what do you say? How do you approach them? Does it look... Because we all do things a little bit differently. And so that's why I want to ask, how does that look for you?
Well, there was a long time ago that I practiced brutal honesty, even with myself. And I had to transition that to just honesty. First, before you go approaching people, I have to ask myself, like, am I really capable of being a benefit in this situation?
Okay.
And I don't think about what I'm going to say to people. It's been many different things, like even in the grocery store line, that mom that has that 2-year-old is just screaming at the top of her head. And the mom is red and embarrassed and crazy, just turning to her and letting her know, man, I've been there. I know how hard it is. And you know what? The people that care about your kid screaming don't matter to us, right?
Yeah.
What matters is you're taking care of your baby and you need to buy food. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we can't always time shopping perfect straight after a nap when our kid's going to be blissful. Okay. So don't feel bad about this. This is part of the journey, or the girl in the locker room. Like, I used to go to Vasa and there was a girl there that had been going for a long time and I could tell she worked really hard. But one day I caught her, didn't catch her. I went into the locker room and she was sitting on a bench wrapped in her towel, just sobbing. And the iPad was on the little counter. And I was like, man, this looks like a situation where she just got smeared by somebody. Something has happened. So can I help her? Yes. So I just walked up and I said, hey, do you care if I sit down by you? and she looked up at me like I was crazy, because I am. And I said, I just want to sit next to you. We don't have to talk. I just want you to know, like, you're not alone right here, right now. And I sat next to her and she just started talking. I don't go into it with an expectation. Maybe the homeless guy in the park, when I sit next to him, he's going to tell me to get bent, or he's going to think I'm crazy too. And like, I don't know what's going to happen. I just have to go into it with no expectation. I don't want to go into it with, oh, this is going to be a great experience and I'm going to solve problems today. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I just want to make sure that if that person needs me or needs someone, that there's someone available. Because there were so many times in my life that there was no one available. Nobody took a moment to recognize what was going on. Nobody took a moment to just, hey, what if we just breathe together? I've done that before too. And they're like looking at me nuts. I'm like, just follow my lead, and start doing the slow, deep inhales through the nose and blowing out. Because sometimes people just need to breathe for a minute. So the approach varies immensely.
Okay.
What you say to a homeless man doesn't necessarily correlate with what you say to the woman in the grocery store line.
Yeah. But I really like the examples you gave, because it gives everybody something to think about. Different situations and how to ask the question that you ask yourself, I think, is great. I think that, am I going to be a benefit? Can I help this person? Because if you can't answer that yes, don't go. Don't get involved, because you're just going to make the situation worse.
Yeah.
So I really like how you lead with that. And you just ask yourself internally that question. Can I help in this situation?
Yeah, there are people that don't like to travel with me, because it'll take me to San Francisco. I probably 15 years ago went to San Francisco with my mom to see my sister, and I didn't understand the social norms there. I didn't understand the rules. So if we got on a bus and there was an Asian lady in the back, and I'm only using that because it is significant in San Francisco, in the back, just either crying or, just the body language would tell you they just are sitting there defeated, I would get up and go sit by them. My sister's like, you're going to get shot. You got to be careful what you do here. Like, certain people don't, Jennifer, they don't want that. You have to be careful. You can't just walk up to everyone and anyone. So that's where the question actually came into play.
Okay.
Or I went on a little conference event, and the girl that I was with, we were walking, and there was a gas station. There was a man who's clearly schizophrenic, just screaming at the sky, just loudly screaming at the sky. He is upset. He's upset. And I don't know if he's yelling at God, the clouds, the birds. I don't know. But he's been there for a long time. You could tell he's dirty. He's sweaty, and I'm like, sorry. I'm going to go give him a hug if he wants one. So I literally walked up to this man. I was like, hey, can I hug you? He just kind of had this knee-jerk reaction. I was like, I mean it, and he let me hug him. And I was like, that matters to me.
Yeah.
That matters
Absolutely.
to me.
You made a difference in his day.
I don't know if I did, but I sure wanted to.
Did he stop yelling at the sky after that?
No.
Oh.
No. And he doesn't have to.
No.
Sometimes the moments are what matters.
Yeah.
It's not what happened after. It's not, did I have a long-term effect and solve this? No, it's, did I provide just even a slight moment of a reprieve?
Yeah.
Because that was an intense case of schizophrenia. I mean, I'm not a doctor, and his doctor wasn't there. So just through my observations, that's what it looked like. And I can't cure him. But what if I can just give him a moment of reprieve? Just some warmth for even just 3 seconds. I try to hold on longer, but people just for 3 seconds, what if I can give him a reprieve? He wasn't yelling while I was hugging him.
Yeah.
There
you go. Yeah.
So I'm a mixed bag of tricks, so you gotta be really careful, because
I want to go traveling with her now.
People take me places, and I'm just like, and different cultures are different, and I get that, and I try to have an understanding around the different cultures, and I suck at it, because I'm like, this is humanity.
Yeah.
We're all human.
It's connection.
This is humanity.
Yeah.
And if I can hug some guy that is in the park and has not a dime or is dirty, and sometimes they smell bad, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Excuse me.
But that's, I don't know. That's one of my huge values. I just want to make a difference.
I love that.
I just want to do exactly opposite of what my dad said was possible.
Well, and I know that you're going to achieve that funeral value.
Oh,
it's coming.
Thank you.
And it's going to be more than 4 or 5 people. So, I mean, even just today, you've made a difference. I mean, in my life today, and some of these things, I've learned from you. And some of them have been refreshes. It's been great. So I just want to say thank you for coming and sharing and telling your truth, because I wouldn't want it any other way.
It's my favorite thing to do now.
That's great.
To one or many.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, as we end all of our shows, Jen, we need to turn the tables to you.
All right.
And let you ask a question or two of one of us, both of us, whatever you're feeling today. So the time's yours too. What do you want to know today? What questions do you have?
Oh, no.
And I know I might have just opened Hell's Gate with that question, but it's okay.
No. Usually my questions come around or center around what I observe, of course. I mean, I've known Hillary. Hillary is one of the most tender. I told her on the phone the other day that I remembered when she rescued this little bird and brought it in and put it in a box and tried to nurture it.
Oh, yeah?
It mattered to her.
Mhm.
And I think that's when I started growing more, that's when love for her grew. I mean, I always liked her. She's very likable. But that was the moment that I felt like love grow for her and I saw her so different. So I'm going to ask you, what was the moment that you knew or that you felt that love grow for this woman? Because it's apparent, you guys. If you're not in this room with these guys, you can't feel it. But it is so apparent. I've got goosebumps talking about it because it's just so apparent.
I mean, every day I feel like it changes and grows. And some days it's the same and some days it's a different way. But really, I mean, I'm thinking, so our second date, the first date, I knew she was the woman that I've been waiting for. I knew it the first date. But on our second date, we went to a concert, and music has brought us together. It's a big part of our relationship.
Mhm.
And it was one of my very favorite bands at the time. So I got to introduce her to him because she hadn't seen him yet. And I remember when the lead singer, it's a female, and her voice range is just incredible.
Astronomical.
Just incredible, just so talented. But I remember she's singing this one song and she's just going all the way through her range, top to bottom, and it's just beautiful. And I look over and I just see the look in her eyes that I was feeling. And I knew, that's the moment I'm like, this woman, I can love her. I mean, I seen that look in her face, enjoying something as much or more that I enjoyed. And I knew at that moment, that's when it really started to take off.
All right, I'm queen of follow-up.
Okay.
Do you believe if you hadn't done the work that you've done and understood the things that you've been through and who you were or who you were becoming, do you believe you would have been capable of that kind of love? Because those moments don't happen to everyone. And when they do, sometimes people don't even understand what's happening. They can take a look at this, like you said, you looked over at her and they'd be like, oh yeah, she's enjoying the show, and just go. But you obviously found yourself in a place where you could recognize. And it's obvious you've done some healing and let go of some shame, because when you have those kind of things in your life, you aren't receptive to those moments.
I don't know. I kind of got lost for a second.
Rephrase the question.
Yeah, I got lost in Hillary's eyes, actually.
See, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
But-
We started with gratitude, and I'm just going to say I'm grateful that you did the healing that you needed to do to be able to be in a place where you could recognize that moment for what it was.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. I mean, 10 years ago, not a chance.
Yeah.
So
Okay, we're gonna be the cheeseball couple here
Please.
for a minute.
It's
but,
my favorite.
one of our wedding songs was "I Prayed for You," and in the song it talks about praying to find the one that you're meant to be with, and that was something that I did for a long time before I met Scott. But I knew that if me and him would have met 20 years ago, we probably wouldn't have liked each other. We were both two completely different people than we are today, but we both needed to get to a certain spot. It was in our lives to be able to come together and meet and be in the relationship that we are today. We had to go through certain hurdles. We had to learn certain lessons for us to find each other
And to truly appreciate each other.
and to truly appreciate each other and to push each other and to be comfortable with each other and each other's quirks. And every marriage is constant work. You know, we do not have a perfect marriage by any means, but we continue to constantly try to work on it.
I thought it was perfect.
Perfect means boring.
Yeah.
Perfect means boring, stagnant, complacent, all those words that we don't want to have in our lives.
We have a good marriage, but
We do.
it hasn't always been perfect.
No.
So, yeah.
That was a great question.
I have one last question for Jen. If you had a superpower, what would your superpower be?
I already told you.
You kind of did.
Yeah.
If you were a superhero.
Just like that. If I could have the ability to sit down next to someone who obviously is in pain, being held back, like feels like they are truly living their destiny as a homeless drug addict. If I could fly down and sit next to them and hold their hand and let them see what is actually possible, that's all I would want.
I think you already have that.
Well, love is one of my strong values. Hence me being a sucker for this situation. Like, had I known I was going to feel like this, I probably would have came much sooner. Because this is where I'm a junkie. I love watching people like fall in love, stand up for each other, support each other, like doing this together. I mean, she was excited when you were doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I visited, I mean, I don't know how many months ago it's been. Time is irrelevant. Moments count, not time. I have to live that because I forget what day it is.
I do too.
But I visited and, you know, she was working part-time or, you know, slowly doing less hours so that she could do this with you. In that moment, I was like, man, I hope he knows how great that's going to be because the balance between you two is just phenomenal. And if you ever need a cheerleader, if you're having a bad marriage day, just call me.
We'll
and I'll
call
talk to you.
I like it.
I will talk to you and remind you like how this right here feels, and this is why we do the hard work.
Yeah. There was actually an episode that he tried to convince me to do on my own because we were worried that he wasn't going to be able to make it. And I told him, there's no way I could do this on my own without my partner because we do bounce off each other so well.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine trying to do this on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've done a few episodes here and there when you haven't been available, and it's been weird. I mean, it's just, yeah. We're better together.
Yeah.
I like that.
Better together.
I like that. Don't forget that.
Yeah. I won't forget
Don't
that.
forget that.
No.
I only look at you because I know her. I don't know you that great, so I know she's not going to forget that. So I just want you to not forget that.
Yeah.
Because it looks that way and it feels that way.
Well, thank you.
So thanks for letting me share something I'm passionate about, but also, you know, I mean, I veered off a few times just because I feel like so many things tie into each other.
Yeah.
You know, so many things tie into each other. And not only that, but I feed off energy. And you guys just have this great, calming, comforting, like inquisitive energy that feels right.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And look at Benny. He's asleep on the floor under my
He's
feet.
out.
He scoped it out and
He
got
did.
the feeling and went ahead
He's
and did it
dead.
out.
So,
Yeah.
well, everybody, seriously, thank you for hanging out this hour with us today.
And Jen, thank you for hanging
Thank you
out with us.
for hanging out and sharing your stories and some of the things you have learned over the last 20 plus years in your journeys that you've been doing.
Yeah, I have no regrets today.
Yeah. And I love that. So everybody, our challenge at the end of every one of our episodes is during this episode, somebody's came to mind. Somebody in your life has popped up and you've thought about them of, hey, I know somebody that thinks like this, or hey, I know somebody that may be full of shame, or hey, I know somebody that could use this information. So our challenge is you take this episode, we sign off here, and you share it with that person. Share this information that you heard today because you were inspired when they came into your mind during this episode that they needed to hear it. So take that initiative, trust your gut, and share the information in this episode. And we couldn't do this every week without you guys continuing to do that. So we just want to say thank you because this is only possible because you guys make it possible and tune in every week when we're here. We can't wait to see you guys next week. It's going to be another wonderful episode. And we'll get to talk about some new pickles that we're going to do this weekend. And some events, and we'll let everybody know how they go. But until then, everybody, I want you to all know how much we love you. We're grateful for you. We're going to have smiles on our face until the next time we see you. We want you to as well. And don't forget that you're
A big deal.